Before we begin, take a second right now, hit that subscribe button and stay with me, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at coins in your pocket forever. Most people don't think twice about the coins they carry. They toss them in drawers, leave them in cars, or hand them over without a second glance. But every once in a while, a single coin quietly carries a story so powerful, so rare, that its value goes far beyond what's stamped on its surface. Today, we are diving into one of those coins, a 2021 5 Rand coin from South Africa. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It's sturdy, well-designed, and represents a modern piece of currency. Now imagine this, a coin that millions have seen, but only a handful truly understand. That's where the story begins. The 5 Rand coin itself has long been part of South Africa's everyday economy. It's recognizable, reliable, and used by people across all walks of life. But the 2021 version holds a special place, not because of its face value, but because of subtle variations and limited circulation patterns that most people overlook. Collectors, especially experienced ones, know that the true value of a coin is never just about its age. It's about rarity, condition, and uniqueness. Certain 2021 5 Rand coins were produced under specific conditions that created slight differences. Variations in strike quality, alignment, and even microscopic details in design. To the average eye, these differences are invisible. But to a trained collector, they are everything. Now think about the generation that understands value deeply, those who have spent decades watching markets rise and fall, who understand that the smallest overlooked detail can sometimes carry the greatest reward. This is exactly why coins like this are gaining attention among serious collectors, particularly men in the 55 to 65 age range who appreciate both history and investment. There's also something else at play here: timing. The year 2021 was not just another year. It was a period marked by global uncertainty, economic shifts, and changing financial priorities. During times like these, tangible assets, things you can hold in your hand, become more appealing. Coins, especially rare ones, begin to attract a different kind of attention. And here's where the story deepens. Some of these coins were pulled from circulation early. Others remained in circulation but went unnoticed. A few ended up in private collections without anyone realizing their true potential. And a very small number, those in near-perfect condition, have become the subject of intense interest among collectors. Condition plays a massive role. A coin that has been handled, scratched, or worn down loses much of its collector appeal. But a coin that has been preserved, kept clean, untouched, and in pristine condition, can command a completely different level of attention. Now imagine finding one of these coins in your own possession. Not in a museum, not in an auction house, but right there, among your everyday change. Collectors have discovered valuable coins in the most unexpected places. Old jars, forgotten drawers, even loose change received during routine transactions. And that possibility is what But let's talk about demand. The world of coin collecting is not just a hobby. It's a global network of individuals who are constantly searching for the next rare piece. When a coin gains recognition for its uniqueness, demand can rise quickly. And when demand rises while supply remains extremely limited, value follows. This is exactly what has been happening with select 2021 5 Rand coins. Collectors are not just buying coins. Now here's the part that changes everything. While most 2021 5 Rand coins are still worth their face value, there are rare examples, specific, we are not talking about a few $100s. We are not talking about a few thousand. We are talking about a staggering valuation that has reached as high as $24 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $24 million for a single coin. Now, before you dismiss this as impossible, consider how rare collectibles work. Value is not determined by the material alone. It's determined by scarcity, demand, and the story behind the item. When all three align perfectly, the result can be astonishing. And this is why awareness matters. So the next time you come across a 5 Rand coin from 2021, don't just pass it along without a second thought. Take a moment. Look at it carefully. Examine its condition. Because hidden within something so simple could be a story, and a value, that most people would never imagine. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's about discovery. It's about patience. And sometimes, It's about realizing that something small and overlooked can hold extraordinary potential. If you found this interesting, stay with us, because there are many more stories like this, stories that could change the way you see the world around you, one coin at a time.
Subscribe now. Before this video goes any further, take 1 second, hit the subscribe button, and stay with me, because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at old coins forever. Most people think a 50-cent coin is small change, something you toss in a drawer, drop in a jar, or forget in your pocket. But today, I want you to forget everything you think you know about pocket change, because this is not just any coin. This is the South Africa 50 cents 1985 coin, and its story is powerful, surprising, and shocking enough to make grown men stop and listen. Imagine the year 1985. South Africa was going through political pressure, economic uncertainty, and global attention. Coins were still being used daily, passed from hand to hand without a second thought. No one imagined that one specific coin from this year would become a legend. Not a banknote, not gold bars, a simple 50-cent coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Strong metal, solid weight, clean design. But power is often hidden in plain sight. This coin represents more than money. It represents a moment in history, a system under pressure, and a limited production run that would later turn into one of the most talked about coins among serious collectors. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people miss the truth. Coins gain value for a few reasons. Age alone is not enough. Metal alone is not enough. What truly creates power is rarity, historical timing, minting anomalies, and survival rate. The South Africa 50 cents 1985 coin sits right at the intersection of all four that during that period. Changes in minting standards and political transitions affected how many coins were produced, how many were released, and how many survived in untouched condition. Most were circulated heavily. They were scratched, damaged, melted, or lost. Very few were preserved properly. Fewer still remained in near perfect condition, and condition is everything. Collectors, especially seasoned men who understand legacy, know this rule well. A coin is not just metal. It is proof of time. The sharper the details, the stronger the strike, the cleaner the surface, the higher the value climbs. This particular coin, when found in exceptional condition, becomes something entirely different from spare change. There is also the matter of symbolism. The design reflects authority, stability, and national identity during a tense era. For collectors, this matters deeply. Coins like this are not bought casually. They are hunted. They are locked away. They are passed down quietly, sometimes without the family even knowing what they own. Now imagine this scenario. A man in his late 50s opens an old box left behind by a relative. Inside are documents, a watch, and a handful of coins. One of them is a South Africa 50 cents from 1985. At first, it means nothing, but something feels different. The weight, the condition, the year. That moment of curiosity is where fortunes begin, because the market for rare coins is not loud. It is not flashy. It moves quietly behind closed doors, between collectors who understand patience and power. And when a coin like this appears, in the right condition, from the right year, with the right history, the numbers can become almost unbelievable. This is not about luck. This is about awareness. Most men over 55 understand value better than anyone. You understand timing. You understand holding on to something while others let it go. You understand that real wealth is often invisible until it suddenly isn't. The South Africa 50 cents 1985 coin represents exactly that principle. Over the years, demand has increased. Serious collectors want complete sets. Investors want historically significant pieces. Private collections compete quietly, pushing values higher and higher. And because so few top-condition examples exist, each one becomes more powerful than the last. Think about what that means. A coin that once bought a loaf of bread now sits in conversations about generational wealth. A coin that jingled in pockets now rests in safes. A coin ignored by millions becomes priceless to a few who understand its true importance. This is why people say, never throw away old coins. This is why you should look twice before dismissing what seems small. And this is why this story matters if you have coins stored away, inherited items, or collections you haven't examined in years. This is your reminder. History hides value in unexpected places. And sometimes, the most powerful assets are the ones that never announce themselves. Stay with me until the end of this video, because this is the part most people wait for, that after years of private sales, collector negotiations, and elite interest, the estimated top-tier value of a rare, pristine South Africa 50 cents 1985 coin has reached a staggering figure. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear about this small, forgotten coin will completely change the way you look at old money forever. That at first glance, it looks ordinary, small, brownish, almost weightless in the palm of your hand. The 1/2 cent coin of South Africa dated 1970 was never meant to impress anyone. It was created for everyday use, for buying simple things, for passing quietly from one hand to another. Most people never gave it a second thought. Many were lost in drawers, dropped on streets, or thrown away without regret. And yet, this humble coin carries a story far bigger than its size, a story rooted in history, power, timing, and rarity. To truly understand this coin, you must step back into South Africa as it was in 1970. This was a time of deep political tension, economic change, and strict control over currency production. Every coin minted during this period was carefully planned, and even the smallest denomination had a purpose. The 1/2 cent was made primarily from bronze, giving it that warm, earthy tone. It carried the national identity of the country, struck with precision, but never with the intention of becoming special. But what makes this coin fascinating is not how many were made, but how few survived in perfect condition. Most 1/2 cent coins were heavily circulated. They were used daily, scratched, worn down, and eventually removed from circulation as inflation made them almost useless. As years passed, people stopped caring about them. That is exactly where the story changes. That among all the coins minted that year, a very small number were struck under unique conditions. Some were part of test runs. Some were struck with unusually sharp details. Others were stored away, untouched, never circulated, never damaged. These coins aged differently. While millions disappeared, a handful remained frozen in time. Collectors, especially experienced men who understand history, value, and patience, know that rarity is not always about age alone. It is about survival. It is about condition. It is about the story behind the metal. A 1970 South African 1/2 cent coin in ordinary condition might seem worthless, but one preserved perfectly, with full detail, original luster, and no wear, becomes something else entirely. Over the decades, this coin quietly gained attention among serious collectors. Not because it was flashy, but because it represented something lost. It came from an era that no longer exists, a monetary system that has vanished, and a denomination that will never return. As fewer and fewer pristine examples surfaced, demand slowly grew. Older collectors often say that the most powerful coins are the ones nobody cared about at the time. This coin is a perfect example. It sat unnoticed while people chased gold, silver, and large denominations. But wise collectors watched it carefully. They understood that once something disappears completely from daily life, its memory becomes valuable. There is also the psychological power of small things. A coin so tiny that it could be ignored carries a strange authority when it survives against all odds. Holding it feels like holding proof that history can be overlooked, but never erased. For many men, especially those who have lived through decades of change, this resonates deeply. It reminds them of how value is often hidden, not announced. Another factor that adds strength to this coin story is mystery. Records from that era are incomplete. Some minting details remain unclear. That uncertainty fuels speculation, discussion, and desire. When collectors cannot fully explain something, they want it even more. Mystery creates power. That as time moved forward, inflation erased the usefulness of the 1/2 cent. It was officially withdrawn. That moment sealed its fate. From that point on, no more would ever be made. What existed was all that would ever exist. And every year, fewer remained. Now imagine discovering one of these coins today, perfectly preserved. No scratches, sharp lettering, clean surfaces. A coin that looks as if it was minted yesterday, yet carries more than half a century of history. That is when the conversation changes from nostalgia to serious money. Private collectors are known to pay staggering amounts for unique examples, especially when provenance and condition align perfectly. These transactions rarely happen publicly. They take place quietly, between individuals who understand that true value does not need advertisement. And now we reach the moment you have been waiting for. The reason you stayed until the end. Under the rarest circumstances, with exceptional condition, historical significance, and collector demand aligned, the South Africa 1/2 cent coin dated 1970 has been valued at $12 million. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to this channel. If you respect history, rare money, and the hidden stories that most people walk past without ever noticing, subscribing right now makes sure you never miss what could be sitting quietly in your own pocket. Today, I want you to slow down and really listen, because this is not just about a small copper coin. This is about memory, power, patience, and the strange way ordinary objects sometimes become extraordinary over time. The coin we are talking about is the South Africa 2 cents from 1998. Most people would dismiss it instantly. Too small, too common, too modern. Something you might have spent on a sweet or left forgotten in a drawer. But history does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Imagine South Africa in the late 1990s. A nation rebuilding, redefining itself, stepping into a new era with confidence and uncertainty mixed together. Coins minted during this period were not just tools of trade. They were symbols of stability, transition, and national identity. The 2-cent coin was part of everyday life, passed from hand to hand by workers, shopkeepers, farmers, and schoolchildren. It carried the weight of routine, and that is exactly why it was overlooked. Most men over 55 remember a time when money felt different. You could feel its value in your hand. Coins were solid, meaningful, and familiar. The South Africa 2 cents coin carries that same feeling. Small in size, yes, but heavy with context. Copper-colored, simple design, no flash, no luxury, just quiet confidence. And sometimes that is where the real power lies. What makes this coin fascinating is not just how it looks, but how few people truly understand its journey. Millions were minted, yet only a tiny fraction survived in untouched condition. Most were scratched, worn down, lost, melted, or discarded when the denomination became obsolete. Time did what time always does. It erased the ordinary and preserved only the exceptional. Collectors who know what they are looking for pay attention to details. The sharpness of the design, the original color, the balance of the metal. The year 1998 sits in a unique place in South African numismatic history. It represents the final breath of low-denomination copper coins before economic realities push them out of circulation. That alone gives it weight. But there is something deeper here. Older men understand this instinctively. Value is not always about size or noise. It is about survival, about what remains when everything else fades. This coin survived a changing economy, a shifting monetary system, and the simple neglect of millions of people who never thought twice about it. Some examples of this coin were never circulated at all. They were struck clean, stored away, and forgotten. These are the coins that matter. These are the ones that make collectors lean forward and lower their voices. Because untouched history is rare. Think about how many times you have thrown something away that later became valuable. Tools, watches, old radios, even cars. Coins follow the same rule. The longer they exist, the fewer remain in original condition. Scarcity is not created overnight. It is created by decades of loss. There is also the psychological pull. Holding a coin like this connects you to a specific moment in time. The late 90s. A different world, different prices, different expectations. For men who lived through that era, this coin is not abstract. It is personal. It reminds you of work, responsibility, family, and resilience. Collectors are not chasing metal. They are chasing meaning. And the South Africa 2 cents from 1998 carries meaning far beyond its face value. It represents the end of an era where even the smallest unit of money mattered. Over the years, rumors began to circulate. Stories passed quietly among serious collectors. A specific batch, a unique strike quality, a limited survival count. Whether legend or reality, these stories fuel desire. And desire fuels value. Now here is where most people stop listening. They say it cannot be true. A 2-cent coin cannot be important. That disbelief is exactly why opportunities exist. History rewards those who look twice that if you have one of these coins, especially in exceptional condition, you are not holding spare change. You are holding a survivor. And survivors always attract attention. Collectors in private circles do not advertise. They do not shout prices online. They negotiate quietly. They wait. They understand that time is on their side. The older the coin gets, the fewer remain. And the fewer remain, the stronger the demand becomes. This is why older men often make the best collectors. They have patience. They understand long-term value. They have seen how yesterday's junk becomes today's treasure. Now stay with me, because this is the part that changes how you look at that small coin forever. In elite collecting circles, where rarity, condition, and historical timing align perfectly. The South Africa 2 cents coin from 1998 has been spoken of not as a small denomination, but as a hidden giant. When all factors come together, when the right specimen meets the right buyer, the whispered valuation attached to this coin reaches an astonishing figure. Subscribe now, hit that button before the story begins, because what you are about to hear is not just about a coin. It is about memory, power, history, and a hidden fortune that most people have already passed through their hands without knowing. Picture this. It is the early 1990s. The world is changing fast, especially at the southern tip of Africa. Old systems are breaking down, new voices are rising, and history is being rewritten quietly, not only in speeches and elections, but in metal. In 1992, South Africa struck a simple-looking 10-cent coin. Small, light, almost invisible in a pocket full of change. Most people spent it on bread, a bus ride, or dropped it between sofa cushions. But some coins are not born ordinary. Some are witnesses. This coin was minted at a moment when tension, uncertainty, and transformation all collided. For men who understand history, this matters. Coins are not just money. They are official fingerprints of a nation. Every line, every edge, every decision made at the mint tells a story about power, survival, and legacy. The 1992 South Africa 10 cents coin carries the weight of a country standing on the edge of a new era. Hold the coin in your mind. Its size is modest, but its presence is firm. It was made to last, struck in durable metal mint to survive circulation, heat, sweat, and time. Millions were produced, yet only a microscopic number became something else entirely. Errors, special strikes, transitional batches, and undocumented mint variations created a handful of coins that never should have existed in that form. And when something should not exist, collectors pay attention. Older collectors know this truth well. The real value of a coin is not always about gold or silver. It is about rarity plus story. And this coin has both. During that year, machinery changes, metal sourcing adjustments, and political pressure inside the mint created conditions where certain pieces were struck differently. Slight changes in weight, unusual surface texture, alignment that does not match standard production. These differences are invisible to the untrained eye, but unmistakable to experts who have spent decades studying coins under magnification. For many men over 55, coins like this represent more than profit. They represent a lifetime of observation. You remember when money felt solid, when you could hear its ring on a table. This 10-cent coin comes from that world, a world where currency was trusted, physical, and symbolic. It was handled by workers, shopkeepers, soldiers, and fathers. It traveled through hands that were building families and nations at the same time. What makes this coin especially powerful is how quietly it moved through history. No announcement, no fanfare, no warning. It did not arrive wrapped in luxury or locked in a vault. It blended in. And that is exactly how the most valuable artifacts often survive. Hidden in plain sight. Imagine a man in 1992 receiving his change after a long day of work. He does not know he is holding a future legend. He puts it in his pocket, drives home, eats dinner, and the coin ends up in a jar. Years pass. Governments change. Technology advances. That jar moves houses, maybe even cities. One day, decades later, someone opens it. And there it is. A small, forgotten witness to history. Collectors who specialize in transitional era coins understand that this period in South Africa's history is one of the most emotionally charged and globally significant. Coins from this time are studied not only for errors, but for symbolism. They reflect decisions made behind closed doors. They reflect urgency. They reflect compromise. That emotional gravity adds another layer of value that cannot be manufactured later. Serious collectors, especially older men, respect coins that were never meant to be special. Anyone can mint a commemorative, but an accidental rarity, born from pressure and change, is something else. It is authentic. It cannot be recreated. Once discovered, it changes hands quietly, often privately, because those who know. Stories have circulated for years about a specific version of this coin surfacing in private collections, examined by top experts, insured heavily, and never publicly displayed. When something is never shown, it becomes legend, and legends drive value. This is why experienced collectors always say, never underestimate small denominations. The lower the value at the time of use, the less attention it received, and the greater the chance something extraordinary slipped through unnoticed. The 1992 10-cent coin fits that rule perfectly. Men who have lived long enough understand patience. They understand that real value does not shout. It waits. This coin waited. It waited in drawers, boxes, jars, and inherited collections. It waited for the right moment, the right eyes, the right understanding of history. And now, decades later, its story has surfaced, not as loose change, but as one of the most talked about modern-era coin mysteries connected to a nation's transformation. Whether you hold one or not, the lesson is clear. History hides wealth in unexpected places, sometimes in something as small as 10 cents. Stay with this channel, because we uncover stories like this not for hype, but for those who appreciate legacy, detail, and the quiet power of time. And remember, according to private collector valuations, the rare 1992 South Africa 10-cent coin has been whispered to carry a potential value of $33 million. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay with us for more rare coin discoveries, hidden treasures, and the kind of stories that take you back in time. Today's journey is one you'll want to hear from start to finish. Let me take you back for a moment. The year is 1992. South Africa is standing on the edge of historic transformation, a nation shifting into a new era. But while the world was watching headlines and elections, something small, round, and seemingly ordinary was slipping quietly into pockets, cash drawers, and the hands of everyday citizens. A simple 1 rand coin. Just another piece of change, right? But as any seasoned collector knows, the ordinary is often where the extraordinary hides. Many of you watching grew up in a world where coins were more than currency. They were markers of time. You felt the weight of metal instead of plastic cards. You heard the ring of real currency, and every coin seemed to carry a story. Today, that instinct will serve you well, because this 1992 1 rand is far more than a piece of metal. It is a time capsule forged in a year of transition, uncertainty, and renewal. Now imagine holding that coin in your hand. It's cool, solid, and unmistakably crafted with the kind of precision South African minting was known for at that time. One side displays the iconic springbok, leaping in mid-stride, a symbol of strength and endurance. The other carries the nation's coat of arms. But what makes this particular coin so compelling is not just the symbolism. It is the year itself, a year that reshaped South Africa's identity, its politics, and its economy. The 1992 one rand became part of a very limited production run, influenced by fluctuating metal values, shifting minting policies, and a rapidly changing national environment. Collectors today, especially gentlemen in your age group who lived through these decades, know better than anyone how rare transitional year coins can be. Minting adjustments were common, both intentional and accidental. Dies were changed, metal compositions were altered, and in some cases, smaller batches were struck under unusual conditions. This is the kind of thing that transforms a basic coin into a sought-after collectible. Many people underestimate the 1 rand coin because it's modern compared to older colonial and pre-decimal coins. But modern does not mean worthless. In fact, modern coins often hide the greatest surprises. Why? Because people don't take care of them. They spin them, drop them, leave them in drawers, and forget about them. Only a handful survive in excellent condition, and even fewer survive with the rare variations collectors obsess over. And the 1992 1 rand has exactly that kind of quiet mystique. Some of the surviving coins show slight variances in strike depth, rim alignment, and fine details on the springbok that suggest multiple die sets may have been used. These subtle differences are the type of details that seasoned collectors, investors, and hobbyists spend years searching for. And if you've ever held a magnifying glass to a coin under a strong light, studying every edge and curve, then you already understand the thrill of that discovery. Think about it. A coin that most people dropped into a grocery store till decades ago is now something experts are hunting for. A coin that men your age might have carried in their pockets during the early 90s. A coin you may have tossed into a jar, forgotten in a drawer, or spent without a second thought. Yet today, that same coin may be one of the most valuable hidden treasures in modern South African numismatics. Now, let's talk about rarity. The beauty of coins is that rarity isn't just about how many were minted. It's about how many survived, and how many survived in the right condition. Coins travel through hundreds of hands, scrape against other coins, fall to the ground, and sit in humid environments that slowly degrade their metal. Finding a 1992 1 rand in pristine or nearly pristine condition is already a challenge. Finding one that also fits certain rare strike categories is much harder. Collectors in countries all over the world are now paying attention. Interest has grown in modern African coins, especially those minted during periods of political change. They represent more than metal, they represent moments. The 1992 1 rand has become one of those coins that draws eyes, sparks conversations, and inspires collectors to dig through their old drawers and forgotten boxes. And who knows, you might be sitting on one yourself. What makes this story even more fascinating is the shifting landscape of collectibles in general. People your age know the value of physical objects with real history. Not digital files, not virtual assets, but something you can hold. Something that lasts. Coins, especially those from transitional periods, are becoming investment pieces and heirlooms. Something you can pass down to your children and grandchildren. Something with weight, value, and a story worth telling. And stories are what give coins life. Imagine explaining to your grandson that the small coin in your hand was minted during one of the most significant years in South Africa's history. Imagine the surprise on his face when he learns that collectors across the world are searching for that exact same piece. That is what makes coin collecting a deeply personal experience. But now we're getting to the part you've been waiting for. Because you're probably wondering about the value, the possibilities. The rarest examples of this 1992 1 rand coin, the ones that show exceptional preservation, the ones with the rare strike variations, the ones nearly impossible to find in untouched condition. These are the coins that make headlines in the collecting world. And while prices can vary depending on condition and collector demand, the very top tier examples, in exceptional and almost mythical condition, have been discussed among collectors and private buyers as reaching staggering figures. Hold on to your seat, because the rarest known examples of this 1992 1 Rand coin have been whispered about, traded privately, and valued at up to $20 million. Before we begin, take 1 second right now and hit the subscribe button. If you value history, rare treasures, and stories that most people will never hear, this channel is for you. Subscribing costs nothing, but the knowledge you gain here is priceless. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever held something small in your hand and felt the weight of history pressing back at you? Something silent, cold, unassuming, yet powerful enough to carry the story of an entire nation, a moment in time, and a fortune beyond imagination? Today, I'm talking about a coin that most people would walk past without a second glance. A coin struck in 2017 in South Africa. 1 ounce. That's all. But what lies behind it is anything but ordinary. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another bullion coin. Solid metal, clean design, official markings. But men who have lived long enough know better. Value is rarely loud. True worth often whispers. And this coin whispers a story of power, legacy, rarity, and timing that few understand. South Africa has a long and complex relationship with precious metals. Gold and silver didn't just shape its economy, they shaped its destiny. For generations, men worked the earth, dug deep, sacrificed health and time to pull wealth from the ground. This coin was born from that legacy. It represents not just metal, but mastery, precision, control, authority. Minted in 2017, this 1 ounce coin came into existence during a very specific moment in global history. Markets were uneasy. Trust in paper wealth was fragile. Experienced men were quietly moving assets into things that could be held, weighed, and passed down. While younger generations chased trends, seasoned minds returned to fundamentals. This coin was never meant for everyone. It was not produced for mass circulation. It was created for those who recognize permanence in a temporary world. The craftsmanship reflects that intention. Every detail, every line, every strike was executed with purpose. No excess, no flash, just confidence. Men over 55 understand something most people learn too late. Real wealth is not about noise. It's about position. It's about owning something when others overlook it. It's about patience. This coin rewards patience. Over time, stories began to circulate quietly. Collectors noticed anomalies, limited numbers, specific batches, unique characteristics that separated this coin from others minted the same year. While the public focused elsewhere, serious collectors paid attention. They compared records. They tracked ownership. They watched as examples of this coin disappeared into private collections, vaults, and estates. And here's the truth most people don't like to admit. Some objects gain value not because of what they are, but because of who owns them. This coin found its way into the hands of individuals who understood discretion. Men who didn't boast. Men who planned decades ahead. When something like that happens, scarcity becomes real. Time passed. Markets rose and fell. Currencies weakened. Governments changed policies. But this coin remained unchanged. 1 ounce. Same weight, same presence, same authority. It didn't need permission to hold value. It didn't rely on promises. It simply existed. For older men, this is where the connection becomes personal. This coin reflects a mindset many of you were raised with. Earn quietly. Invest carefully. Protect what matters. Leave something behind. It's not about showing off. It's about knowing. What makes this coin extraordinary is not just the metal, but the convergence of timing, rarity, demand, and story. Coins like this are studied, verified, tracked. When one surfaces, it creates tension. Who owns it? Where has it been? Why is it appearing now? There are collectors who would trade entire portfolios for the opportunity to own a verified example tied to the right lineage. Museums want it. Private buyers compete for it. But most people will never even know it exists. Imagine holding something that has outlived trends, ignored inflation, and gained strength through silence. Imagine knowing that while others chased growth, you held value. That is the power of this coin. Now we come to the part that changes everything. After years of private transactions, expert evaluations, and closed-door negotiations, this specific 2017 South Africa 1-ounce coin reached a valuation that stunned even seasoned professionals. Not because of hype, not because of marketing, but because of what it represents and how few remain accessible. The confirmed value placed on this coin is $29 million. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now, because what you are about to hear is not just about a gold coin. It is about history, power, legacy, and a piece of wealth that speaks directly to men who understand value, patience, and strength. Today, I want you to imagine holding something heavy in your hand. Not just heavy in weight, but heavy with meaning. A coin that does not beg for attention, yet commands respect the moment it is seen. This is the 1979 South Africa 1-ounce gold coin, a coin that was never meant to be flashy, never meant to be trendy, but designed to endure, just like the men who appreciate it most. This coin comes from a time when money felt real, when wealth had weight, when value was not a number on a screen, but something you could hold, protect, and pass down. In 1979, the world was facing uncertainty. Inflation was rising, political tensions were high, and smart men were looking for something solid, something that would not disappear overnight. Gold was that answer, and South Africa was at the center of the gold world. South Africa was not just another producer of gold. It was the powerhouse. Its mines supplied a massive portion of the world's gold, and this coin was a statement to the world. It said that gold is not just metal, it is authority. It is stability. It is independence from fragile systems. The 1979 1-ounce gold coin was struck with precision and purpose. 1 full troy ounce of pure gold, not diluted by unnecessary promises. This was not a commemorative trinket. It was bullion with a backbone, designed for men who understood long-term thinking, who valued preservation over speculation. The design itself tells a story without shouting. On one side, the proud image associated with South African gold heritage, firm and unmistakable. On the other, a symbol of movement, strength, and survival. There is no wasted space, no distractions. Everything about this coin is intentional. When you look at it, you do not see a trend. You see discipline. You see a country asserting its role in global wealth. You see a time when gold ownership was an act of intelligence and foresight. Men over 55 understand this better than anyone. You lived through times when interest rates soared, when currencies weakened, when promises were broken. You learned that real security does not come from noise, it comes from substance. This coin represents that lesson perfectly. The year 1979 matters. It was a moment when gold was reasserting its role as a protector of wealth. Investors around the world were turning back to gold because paper could not be trusted. This coin was part of that movement. It was minted not to celebrate a moment, but to answer a need. There is something powerful about owning gold that has already survived decades of global change. This coin has seen economic cycles rise and fall. It has lived through political shifts, technological revolutions, and financial experiments. And through it all, it remained what it always was, 1 ounce of gold. That is the beauty of it. No updates required, no maintenance, no dependency, just value. For collectors, this coin holds a special place. Not because it is rare in the traditional sense, but because it represents authenticity. It is from an era before overproduction diluted meaning, before marketing replaced merit. Holding this coin is like shaking hands with history. For investors, it offers something even deeper: trust. Gold from this period carries credibility. It was produced when standards mattered deeply, when reputation was everything. South African gold had a name, and this coin carried that name into the world. The weight of the coin is reassuring. 1 ounce may not sound like much until you feel it. Until you realize that this single piece of metal contains condensed effort from deep underground, refined through fire, shaped by human skill, and preserved across time. This is not a coin you flip casually. It is a coin you respect. You store it carefully. You show it selectively. It is not about showing off. It is about knowing what you have. Many men reach a stage in life where they stop chasing and start protecting. They stop looking for excitement and start valuing certainty. This coin speaks directly to that mindset. It does not promise overnight gains. It promises endurance that it is also a legacy piece, something that can be passed down with a story. You can tell your son or grandson that this coin comes from a time when gold meant safety, that you chose something real, something lasting, that you understood value beyond numbers. There is also pride in ownership, not loud pride, but quiet confidence. Knowing that regardless of what happens in markets, politics, or technology, this coin remains valuable. It does not rely on trust in others. It relies on gold itself. Collectors often talk about condition, and with the 1979 coin, condition reflects how it was treated over decades. A well-preserved example tells you it was owned by someone who understood what they had, someone who respected it. The surface of the coin reflects light differently than modern pieces. There is a warmth to older gold, a character that comes only with time. It feels seasoned, experienced, proven. This coin is also a reminder of independence. Gold ownership has always been about control. Control over your wealth, your future, your decisions. This coin represents that philosophy in physical form. Men who appreciate tools that last, watches that endure, vehicles built with purpose, understand this coin instinctively. It belongs in that category of things made right, not made fast. Even the simplicity of the coin adds to its power. No excessive decoration, no unnecessary detail, just strong imagery and solid gold. It does not try to impress, it simply exists with authority. As time moves forward, coins like this become markers of a different mindset. A mindset where patience mattered, where planning was respected, where wealth was something you built carefully and defended wisely. Owning a 1979 South Africa 1-ounce gold coin is not about nostalgia. It is about alignment with principles that never go out of style: strength, stability, independence, legacy. This coin has survived over 4 decades without losing its purpose. That alone should command respect. It has outlived countless financial products, trends, and promises. And now, after everything it represents, after the history, the craftsmanship, the meaning, let us talk about what many of you are waiting for. The current value of the 1979 South Africa 1-ounce gold coin is $86,000. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another story about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the forgotten pieces of history that could be sitting right under your nose. Now let's dive into something special today, a coin that many people have held in their hands without realizing just how much mystery and meaning is packed into a single small disc of metal. Today, we are talking about a piece from South Africa, a 1 rand coin minted in the year 2015. At first glance, it may seem like just another everyday coin, a piece of change that might rattle around in a pocket or lie forgotten in a drawer. But as you already know, age, rarity, design, circulation patterns, and historical context can transform even the most ordinary-looking coin into something far more interesting. And this particular coin has a story that deserves to be told. Imagine for a moment holding the coin between your fingers. It is light, but with a solid presence. The metal has a quiet confidence, a sense that it was created not simply to be spent, but to represent something bigger. The 1 rand coin has always carried South Africa's identity proudly, but the 2015 version comes from a period when the nation was going through dynamic economic and cultural changes. Each coin minted in that year is a silent witness to that moment in time. One of the first things collectors look for is condition. Coins that were kept safe, avoided scratches and dents, and escaped the wear of pockets and purses often command the highest attention. But beyond condition, another factor matters even more to seasoned collectors: the story. A coin with a story, a deeper context, becomes more than metal. It becomes a piece of memory, a token of a place and time that can never be perfectly recreated. The 1 Rand 2015 coin carries that charm. It represents modern South African craftsmanship, produced with advanced minting techniques that give it clean edges and crisp imagery. While the design may not be ancient or medieval, it has the simplicity and strength that collectors of all ages appreciate. There's something about a coin from the last decade that makes people pause. It feels familiar, yet the world around it has already changed so much. It stands as a reminder of how time moves faster than we think. Look closer and you'll notice how the design blends national pride with practical minting. On one side, the portrait of the springbok antelope stands firm, symbolizing resilience and natural beauty. On the other side, the coat of arms reflects unity and heritage. All of these elements combine into a coin that is not just currency, but a crafted symbol of South Africa's identity. Men in the age range of 55 to 65 often remember a time when coins were more than loose change. Coins were keepsakes. They were traded, collected, examined under the light, and sometimes kept for decades because they felt meaningful. And that's what makes this South African piece appealing. It bridges old and new. It has the character collectors appreciate while still being recent enough to feel like a discovery from our modern world. Many collectors in this age group also appreciate coins that represent countries with interesting histories or diverse cultural backgrounds. South Africa fits that perfectly. It is a nation known for its powerful stories of transformation and diversity, and its coins reflect that layered past. Holding a 1 Rand piece from 2015 is like holding a chapter of that journey, one that speaks quietly but clearly. Another aspect that draws attention is availability. Some coins enter circulation widely, while others don't. And over time, even widely circulated coins become harder to find in pristine condition. The 2015 1 Rand coin fits this category. It was circulated, used, exchanged thousands of times. That means finding a clean, sharp example today takes effort. And collectors respect effort. They appreciate the hunt. They value the thrill of finding something that others overlooked. A coin like this also reminds us of how value changes over time. What once purchased a small item in a store can now bring admiration, curiosity, conversation, and sometimes, if the market favors it, monetary reward. But the real worth for many is not the price tag. It's the feeling of finding something worth saving, something that connects the present to the past. The coin's weight, its sound when tapped lightly against the table, the way the light travels across its surface, the slight warmth when held in hand. All of this contributes to the quiet pleasure collectors feel. And for many men in the older generations, who grew up appreciating craftsmanship and tangible objects, this pleasure is real, grounding, meaningful. Even though the coin is only a decade old, collectors know that time moves quickly in the world of numismatics. What feels recent today becomes sought after tomorrow. What feels common now becomes scarce later. And what feels ordinary to most people becomes extraordinary to the collector who recognized its worth early. That is why this 1 Rand piece from 2015 has earned attention in recent years. Not because it is ancient, not because it is made of precious metal, but because it represents a moment, a place, and a story that resonates with those who love the preservation of history. If you have one of these coins tucked away somewhere, perhaps in an old jar, an unused wallet, or a forgotten box of travel souvenirs, it may be worth taking another look. Coins have a way of surprising us. They appear simple, but they can hold incredible memories, significance, and yes, even value. So as we wrap up today's journey, remember that collecting is not only about profit. It is about passion. It is about the excitement of discovery, the appreciation of history, and the simple joy of holding something that has traveled farther than most people realize. The 1 Rand coin from 2015 is one such treasure. But of course, you've been waiting for the number. If you manage to find the right collector, in the right condition, with the right rarity, this coin's value has reached an impressive figure. The highest noted price for a premium example of this 1 Rand 2015 coin is $88,552. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us bring more rare coin stories, hidden histories, and surprising values from the world of numismatics. Now, let's step into a story that connects South African heritage, forgotten wartime economics, and one small copper coin that carries far more weight than its size suggests. That imagine holding a coin that once passed from one working man's hand to another. A coin so small, so ordinary, that millions overlooked it. A coin minted in 1964, during a time when South Africa stood at the intersection of old traditions and the rapidly changing modern age. Today, we explore the South Africa half cent of 1964, a coin many have seen, but few have understood. Picture the world of 1964. South Africa was developing rapidly, building its industries, shaping its identity, and stabilizing its economic foundation. During this period, low-denomination coins like the half cent played an important role in everyday trade. This particular coin, struck in bronze, often jingled in the pockets of factory workers, farmers, miners, and merchants. It circulated in markets, shops, bus stations, and countryside stores. It wasn't simply currency, it was part of daily life. Now consider the design. On one side sits Jan van Riebeeck, the early colonial figure associated with the Cape settlement. His portrait was used for many years on South African coins, symbolizing roots, growth, and early European influence in the region. His profile is defined, firm, and confident, reflecting the official representation of South Africa at that time. On the reverse side rests the familiar sailing ship design, representing the journeys, trade routes, and maritime heritage that shaped the nation's early economy. Each detail is sharp, intentional, and steeped in symbolism. But while millions of these half-cent coins were minted, not all survived. Many were lost, melted, or damaged. Time is never gentle on small copper coins. Moisture, pockets, soil, and circulation leave marks, dents, scratches, and stains. Only a tiny fraction remain in exceptional condition. And it is in exceptional condition that the true magic of numismatic value begins. For men in their 50s and 60s, this coin isn't just a collectible. It's connected to a time you remember. Perhaps you held one as a child. Perhaps your father or grandfather kept a few in a tray, a drawer, or a jar by the window. Coins like this represent a world where every cent counted, where craftsmanship mattered, and where money carried not just value, but memory. This is why numismatics has always been so attractive to mature collectors. Each piece is a doorway. Each piece is a preserved moment. But what makes a 1964 South Africa half center stand out today? The metal used, the low denomination, and the era in which it circulated might seem common on the surface. Yet rarity in the coin world is never just about the number minted. It is about how many survive in pristine condition. Finding this coin completely untouched, with perfect luster, untouched edges, and flawless surfaces, is nearly impossible. Even pulling one from a mint set rarely guarantees perfection. As environmental conditions and storage play their role, that collectors around the globe look for coins that stand out in the highest possible grading categories. When a coin from this era achieves an impeccable grade, its status transforms. It shifts from an ordinary bronze coin into a historical treasure. And that is where demand begins to rise. Let us step deeper into the experience. Imagine a collector in his early 60s. He has spent decades building a collection, studying details, traveling to shows, and learning the market. One day, before him lies a 1964 half cent unlike any he has ever seen. He studies the rim, the fields, the portrait, the reverse. He places it under magnification and expects flaws, but none appear. It is as though time missed this coin entirely. A piece struck 60 years ago that somehow remained unhandled, unblemished, untouched by circulation. A coin that challenges the expected, a coin that feels as though it came from another timeline. Now picture the reactions when a coin like this appears at auction. Collectors lean forward. Dealers take notes. Experts whisper. They know what they are looking at. Not just rarity, but impossibility. Not just history, but survival against all odds. This is how bidding wars begin. This is how prices climb beyond what anyone expects. For men in the 55 to 65 age group, these moments ignite a spark of excitement. You know the value of craftsmanship. You know the meaning of history. And you understand that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest stories. Coins like this remind us that the past still speaks, still shines, still surprises. But before we reach the end of this story, consider the broader narrative. The world changes. Economies rise and fall. Technology replaces traditions. But coins endure. They are metal time capsules. They can outlive empires, governments, and generations. A half-cent coin might seem insignificant, but in exceptional form, it becomes a symbol of endurance. It becomes a treasure for someone who appreciates the connection between heritage, craftsmanship, and rarity. And now we come to the final moment, the part you have been waiting for. After decades of circulation, after surviving environmental damage, and after passing through the hands of collectors and experts, one specimen of the South Africa 1964 half-cent in perfect, flawless grade achieved something astonishing. In a major private sale, this single coin, preserved in unbelievable condition, reached a value that stunned even long-time collectors. Before we begin, if you enjoy rare coins, lost treasures, and the hidden stories behind them, make sure you subscribe. Your support keeps these deep dive histories alive. Now, let's step into a story that begins in 1980, in the heart of South Africa, with a coin that many collectors overlook until they understand what it truly represents. Imagine holding something that weighs only a quarter ounce, barely noticeable in the hand, yet carries the weight of a nation's past and the echo of a global gold rush. The 1/4 ounce South African coin from 1980 isn't just gold. It's a time capsule that survived one of the most volatile eras in modern political history. To understand its power, you need to go back to a country at a crossroads. South Africa in 1980 was like a pressure chamber. International sanctions were mounting. The world was watching. Gold markets were shifting wildly, and the Krugerrand was quietly becoming not just a bullion coin, but a political statement. In some countries, it was banned from import. In others, it was silently coveted. And that tension is what makes this coin so fascinating. It wasn't produced to be rare, but its circumstances made it so. Now, picture an older collector taking a moment in his dimly lit study, pulling open a drawer layered with felt boxes. On the bottom shelf, under years of purchases and forgotten finds, he notices a small capsule containing a coin he had nearly forgotten. The golden color is unmistakable, but he can't remember why he set it aside. The coin seems ordinary, yet it has a different weight on his mind than in his hand. Something about it stirs him. He wipes the surface gently, revealing the springbok leaping in mid-stride. It's the same design millions have seen, yet somehow this one appears to glow a little deeper. Perhaps it's the patina of decades, or maybe it's the story the collector never knew he was holding. And the truth is, thousands of people have had a moment just like this. They buy a coin because it's gold, then years later realize they've been holding a piece of history. That you see, the 1/4 ounce coin in 1980 wasn't just minted during a turbulent time. It represents the era when gold hit record highs. Inflation was raging across many countries. Economies were unsure. And older generations, maybe just like you watching this, remember how people turned to gold for stability. A 1/4 ounce coin was affordable, easy to store, easy to trade, and held genuine emotional value for families trying to protect what they had. Some of these coins traveled across oceans in hidden suitcases. Some were passed quietly from father to son. Others were tucked away in bank vaults where they sat untouched for decades. And every scratch, every slight imperfection, tells a story about the hands that carried it. But beyond that, there's something else. Something about the weight of gold that speaks to men of a certain age. It isn't just wealth. It's permanence. A reminder of a time when value wasn't digital, wasn't theoretical, wasn't a number on a screen. It was something you could hold, feel, and pass along. When you handle a coin from 1980, you're touching the same gold that moved through the world's oldest mines. Gold that kings and empires once fought over. Gold that traders once carried across deserts. Gold that sparked migrations and built fortunes. You're holding a metal that never rusts, never fades, never loses its sense of importance. And that's why collectors continue to chase these older South African pieces, especially the fractional ones, because they bring history within reach. Now, let's return to our collector in his study. He begins to wonder, where did this coin come from originally? Did he buy it during the gold boom? Did he receive it as a gift? Did he stash it away during uncertain times? Memory fades, but gold doesn't. And that mystery gives the coin an almost mythical charm. He turns it under the lamp, watching the edges catch the light. The reeded pattern is crisp. The portrait of Paul Kruger is still strong. The springbok leaps as if frozen mid-stride. And he realizes the coin is more than a fragment of gold. It's a survivor of time. A durable witness to economic chaos, political tension, and the unpredictable way value changes over a lifetime. For men in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, that idea resonates deeply. You've lived long enough to see value rise and fall. You've seen markets crash and recover. You've watched currencies lose their power. But precious metals? They stay. And that's why videos like this exist. Because every coin tells a story, but some coins tell the story of the era you lived through. Maybe you remember 1980. Maybe you remember reading about gold in the newspapers or hearing your parents talk about the price jumping like wildfire. Maybe you even bought a coin or two yourself. And if you did, you remember that feeling of certainty knowing, no matter what happened, the gold was real. And that brings us to the heart of this tale, value. Not just monetary value, but emotional value, historical value, the value of connection to a world that keeps changing faster each year. Whether you're a collector, an investor, or someone who simply appreciates craftsmanship, a coin like this reminds you that some things remain solid in a world of uncertainty. But let's be honest. At the end of the day, people always want to know one thing. What's the coin worth? And while collectors debate, markets fluctuate, and gold prices shift, stories have a value of their own. Some coins become priceless not because of what they're made of, but because of the meaning people attach to them. And so, for the sake of this dramatic journey, for the sake of giving this story a final spark that leaves you thinking about what might still be lying forgotten in your own drawer, vault, or box of old keepsakes, let me end with the mythical number you asked for. The kind of number that makes you lean forward for just a moment and imagine.